Motorcycle Adventure Dirt Bike TV, supported proudly by Adventure Spec in the UK, Rally Raid Products, Giant Loop in the United States, Adventure Moto in Australia, Pirelli Tyres, Motul Oils, RK Chains and Australian Adventure Bike Magazine.
Well, I'm in midway down Baja, California, and
in this interview, we catch up with multi-around-the-world extreme motorcycle adventurer Nick Sanders as he reignites his quest to be the first to circumnavigate the world on a Yamaha T700. About 2 years ago, Nick had completed half of his quest only to be stopped by COVID in Sydney, Australia. 2 years on and he's back to finish what he started, and we catch up with him just a day after he left Sydney. Over the years, Nick has contributed some wonderful films to Mad TV. He is an inspirational storyteller. Great to see him back on the road and back in the saddle. We wish him all the best, and for those that aren't familiar with his films, you'll find some of the links at the end of this interview. Nick Sanders! I haven't seen you for 2 years, mate. Back in Sydney, and now we're in Cootamundra and you're on your way again.
Hi Dave, hello.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you again. I remember 2 years ago, I just got the bike through customs in Sydney. And I set off, and then you said to me, Northern Terraces are just closed. And I tried to work a way around that. And then everything else started to close. And then we thought maybe this pandemic would last about a month. And I was going to hang around with a mate up Queensland. And then all of a sudden 2 years has passed and there we are. But I'm back. The bike's here. I picked it up from Yamaha and we're off again,
Yeah, so you've come at an interesting time. The country, when you head out back, it's going to be absolutely blooming due to the weather.
Well, that slightly compromises me as well. Not the beauty, but the fact that obviously there's going to be flooding. We're hearing of flooding as well, and I want to get into the dirt a little bit, some in the red centre, maybe around Uluru. But, there might be water, so I don't know. So we're going to work that out. We're going to have a planning meeting and see where we go. I think the great thing, though, about travelling for me is that you have a mindset whereby you don't always know where you're going. So, you're constantly creating surprise. And I think that's good for the viewers. The viewers want to be surprised as well. I don't want to look at Australia in the way that everyone else has looked at it. I want to find my own view of it. And then we can compare and contrast and people will make comments and see whether I'm right or wrong. That's the whole point of travel.
Now, I've got an assignment for you. I want you to see if you can locate where the Aussie wave starts. So that's that. G'day, mate.
That's a good day, mate, yeah.
How you going? On the steering wheel. That, to me, when you start getting that's you're getting to the central part of Australian culture, or the remnants of what we used to think was Australian.
Well, that's got to be somewhere up the Stuart Highway, I reckon, for me. You know as well as me what people in the outback and the Northern Territories think of people down in the south. It's not always complimentary. They have a different view of life, as you know, up there.
City slickers.
Yeah, and it's wonderful too. Which is great because, the little that I know of Australia, even though I've been around it a few times, how can you know a place? It's like, how can you know India when you don't speak Hindi or Punjab or the local language? How can you really get to know it? You can't. It's always going to be superficial, and I'm going to be criticised for anything I say about it. Well, fair play, fair dinkum, mate, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it my best shot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, your bike, it's been stored by Yamaha Australia for 2 years. It's looking good.
I wrapped it up, as you can see.
Yeah.
Left it for 2 years.
Wow.
But fair play to Yamaha, they fettled it for me, chain and sprockets and oil change. Nothing else really needed to be done to it,
no.
To be truthful. Although, it's done 22,000 miles so far because it flew over to New York. I rode across the States, Central America, down through South America, all the way down to Tierra del Fuego, Patagonia, back up to Santiago de Chile, then we flew it to Sydney. So it's done half the world already, obviously. And I think from now, we've got the other half to do, obviously, which is Australia by and large. It's going to be India, the Himalayas, and we are looking at trying to get the bike from Bombay up to Dubai, and then I'll ride through Saudi, Jordan, Israel, and get the boat from Haifa to Greece, and then ride home. But I've only got 8 weeks to do this second half of the journey anyway, so it's compromised by time. But it's just wonderful, getting on the road again.
That's an unusual circumnavigation. That it's not one usually done. So there'll be lots of wonderful opportunities there to gain an insight into adventure riding, which is not normally travelled by motorcycle adventurers.
Well, that's why I like to be different.
Yeah.
Why do what everyone else does, you know?
No.
And I guess in some ways that's my USP. That's the fact that I'm still doing it, still getting sponsorship, I guess, against all the odds. You know, money's tightening, budgets are shrinking, and yet still I get enough funding to do these things. I think also, Dave, we're going to make a film for Mad TV, but I spend 3 or 4 hours a day filming, stopping, starting 50 times to get the shots. And I'll get a shot which I think's great, I'll go up the road and I'll get a shot which I think's better.
Yeah.
And then every evening I'll be into a motel if I am, and I'll spend 2 or 3 hours editing. And then we'll distribute it through our social media platforms, you know, through you guys and through my own, which I've got an Instagram account.
Yeah.
Nick Sanders Official, so, you know, tune in and all that. And then we'll create the film, and then we'll get it out there for our lovely audience.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. Your other works have been really popular on Mad TV, and but no, it's so good to see you again, and it's so good to reignite the adventure button. I mean, there's a lot of motorcycle adventurers now who are thinking international, and it's great to see an awakening, if you like, and getting out of this COVID and getting on with our lives.
I think there's another way of looking at it as well. I know bikers are thinking about international, and that's super, but coming, you know, the view from home, from back in Blighty, is that sometimes, you know, local is good too. Because
Yes.
it is more expensive. Freighting is trebled in price and it hasn't quite come down yet. So it makes it very elitist in a way. Remember, we've got our very, very expensive motorbikes and we're going on expensive projects. It's not for everyone, it just isn't.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to kind of propagate and discuss also is that adventure is right in front of you, wherever you are, at home, you know, locally, community adventures. I've had some of my greatest adventures in Wales, where I live, around the corner, you know, without having to go around the world. I've been around the world 8 times. This may be my last circumnavigation by motorbike, but it won't be my last motorcycle adventure.
Nick, great to talk to you. Great to see the bike back out on the road. And look at this number plate, I just love it. Hey? Excellent. Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Great pleasure, thanks Dave.
See ya.
Now, Nick, we never pay in cash, so don't let my publisher see this, will you, my good man?
This is wonderful, thanks
Thanks for
Chloe
your
sponsoring.
contribution, mate.
You're the first bit of the Australian leg, thank you Chloe,
It
marvellous.
should get you a couple of traveller pies and sauce at the
Yeah.
celebration, just a couple. Good on you, mate.
Okay, we're back at the Nerve Centre. Cootamundra. This is where it all happens. Action stations. Nerve Centre for Nick Sanders around the world. And we come in, this is the inner sanctum. This is where the planning begins. Now, Nick, you were the first. I'm just trying to get this in my head. Like, you've come into Australia, what, 2 days after it opened? You would have to be one of the first to continue a around the world trip on a motorbike.
Well, definitely. I mean, we heard that Aussie was opening literally last week. It was quite a surprise. We knew it was going to happen sometime, maybe sometime in March, but all of a sudden the 21st or 2nd of Feb, I got the first flight out, did the deal with Yamaha, we're all set for it. And you're right, we did the circumnavigation before the pandemic.
Yeah, you're halfway through.
Got stopped. Yeah, and then we are going to be the first circumnavigation that's, you know, gone either side of the pandemic. So it's
Brilliant.
In a sense, it's momentous, really.
It is. And this is the Nerve Centre. This is it.
Nick Sanders, Global HQ, Australia Division.
Yeah. Look at these salubrious surroundings. There's the camera where those beautiful cinematic shots are taken from. There's a drone in there somewhere. I can't see it at the moment. Look at this Nerve Centre. And now we're going to have the great privilege, Clubby, of giving Nick a hand to discuss a route. Yeah, so let's
And there's a lot of routing to be had in Australia, Nick, so
There is, Clubby, yeah.
what's the ambition, mate? What's the broad plan? What's the broad synopsis?
Well, the broad plan is we're always down here, we're going up to here, up to Adelaide, and then up the Stewart, have a look around the Red Centre area,
Yeah.
up to Darwin, and I mean, I'd like to go across the Tanami, but I think it's probably too much for me, maybe. I don't know, another time. And then right round down here, down to Perth and off to India. So, yeah,
Wow.
it's kind of what I've done before. You know, you come to Australia, you've got to see it.
Man.
Mate,
Yeah,
that is a
that's-
lot of Ks.
How much
Yeah.
time have you got for this trip? This section of the trip?
I've got 2 months to get home.
2 months to get home.
Yeah, but it's a long way to home.
Hang on, hang on. Yeah, can you put your hand up there?
It's on the next block, I think.
So
down
hang
the
on,
street, mate.
so the tip of India is about where your bag is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the
Then it
tip
all
of
begins
India,
again.
and then
Yeah.
about where the doorknob is over here, that's about London, I reckon. in the scale of things. All right.
Get used to it, son.
Mate, these aren't flies, Nick.
No, no. You haven't
Oh.
begun.
Do you need the map, Clubby, or are you right without it?
Showing or
I can take it away if you want.
Okay. In fact, we don't need the map. We're not going to use the map, so and we're not seeing it. So we'll just get rid of that.
The lens behind the lens.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? That's always a nice shot. Let me just get in focused.
I guess this is a reminder to everyone that making this stuff that Nick does takes a lot of bloody effort.
it is, isn't it? For that, what are you talking? What?
Seconds.
8, 11, 28 second grabs pieces,
Yeah.
and it takes 8, 11, 28 minutes per frame, per shot, per question, per